Hello, hello, hello. This is Caleb Krebs. This episode we are talking about Climax, the 2018 directed, written, and co-edited by Gaspar Noé. It's a psychological horror film. The film takes place in 1996 during winter within a single building and features a large ensemble cast of 24 people, portraying a French dance troupe throwing an after party after a rehearsal. However, the celebrations take a darker turn when everyone becomes increasingly agitated and confused after consuming sangria laced with LSD. Um, yeah, these people, there's this guy named DJ Daddy, I believe, and he is attempting to build something, right? You would say that the people he's bringing in, the way they're dancing, they're attempting to accomplish a similar goal. And by the end of the film, it's like they rise up and they build this big thing, and it just falls just as quickly as they built it. And it's great because my thing is that it's not a traditional film. This is definitely an artsy film. Like Love, I would say, is a lot more traditional than Climax. Um, but this is definitely more of an artsy film because it gets rid of traditional narrative. It gets rid of it does have character arc, but they're very. That's it. They just have small, very character arcs, and you learn about it as you watch. There's no real archetypes. They're not really based off stereotypical people, and I guess you could say that, like the neglectful mother, or the loving but neglectful mother, um, an incestual relationship. I don't know. Like I guess the things could be archetypical, but I would say for the most part they're not. And to highlight these kind of dancing and these super crazy things, like how do I say this, this crazy atmosphere, he would use super long takes, right? I think the longest one being 42 minutes. But even then, the first 15 minutes of the film is one long take of them dancing, and I wouldn't know any other way to capture it than just like this. Um, and another just kind of thing I want to mention is I noticed that I would say since like 2017, 2018, 2019, people have been starting to push the credits. And what I mean by, and I mean the opening credits. A perfect example of this is the Safdie brothers. In Heaven Knows What, in Good Time, in Uncut Gems, you don't see the opening credits until 15, 20, I think 25, maybe even 30 minutes in. I think it's like 20 minutes in. And Climax is just like that. I think you watch it up until like, because the film is 96 minutes long. And I'm pretty sure you watched like 40 minutes already. And then this is directed by Gaspar Noé. And these all different fonts and things like that. Um, I could tell from the movie Love that he likes these long takes. So they're very traditional of him. And I don't know if that's what he's trying to do. I don't know if he's trying to make a filmography in which it's very easy to pinpoint that they are his films, because they're very controversial, very artsy, very vivid in color, right? Have these super long takes. And that's I just think of the French New Wave. And he's not from France. I just think he works a lot in France. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's from Argentina, but he just does all his filming in France and things like that. Um, why was I bringing that up? Let me rewind to find out why I brought that up. Right. The French New Wave. Yeah, I think he might have inspiration from them or things like that because his films are very, you could say, auteurish, right? Kind of getting to the story or the things that it just seems to have a lot of elements, not story. And like I mentioned, that's kind of entirely what the film is you see people build up this thing, then drugs, right, or whatever you could say, um, not focusing on the goal, messes up everything. Because everyone's like, relax, relax, we did it, rehearsal's over, let's kind of have a party now. And I guess their seriousness, their lack of seriousness, could be the reason for the downfall. Um, I, it, I think a film like this has an almost indescribable feeling that that makes me like it. Like I think this film gets closer to a 10 out of 10 compared to a lot of films. I cuz you can present a narrative film and they can teach you a lesson, right? But to be able to capture an energy, an idea like this is entirely different than narrative, and it's only within the realms of cinema that a film like this could exist. Sorry about that, someone was outside. Like a film like this could exist, and because of that, I feel like I guess because the energy I'm sort of trying to describe is like I don't know, you almost like Doc, you're observing these people, and you're observing how everything goes down, and you're observing like the relationship between them, and you hear something over here, and then the camera moves over here, and you hear this, and then this person walks over there and does the drug here, or they have sex here or something, and they come back, and you're just kind of observing, and that's sort of the energy that I'm talking about. That only film, only cinema could capture, not like a narrative, and not like a theater, literature, whatever you want to call it. Um, and I really, really like that. And I think it has a lot of the things that I just enjoy. Like, in pre-production, there was no narrative. It was someone with a voice. You could say a painter with his paintbrush, and the paintbrush being the camera and his actors and things like that. And he kind of let them do what they wanted to do. He had no script for this film. He had a general direction of where to go. But for the most part, he would say, I want you to come on set being excited to try anything. And then if someone wanted to do something to someone else, he would ask the other one for permission. If they accepted it, then they would try it. And it was filmed in order. So you could almost see how it built up on itself. It was kind of awesome. Yeah, just kind of this slow rolling thing. Because I remember the mother. I'm like, okay, she seems kind of like a bad mom, but she's not too bad. She wants her kid to be there and blah blah blah. But she hassles him and makes him go to sleep and things like that. So she's not terrible, and it's like but it's like the idea was still lingering in my head that she might not be a good mother. And then we keep watching, and then we find out she isn't very much a good mother. Um, then again, it could be an uncontrolled element, like how you're supposed to stop a kid from drinking something if you're not watching him. That doesn't mean you're a bad mother. It just means your child's not a good kid. Um, but what I'm trying to get at is just this slow rolling is like, I did not expect it to get as bad as it did. Like it really ended terribly. Like no one died or anything, but it's like they might as well have been going crazy while in that building. Um, and like the devolvement, the de-evolution of it, and you could totally see it. And I really like that. And there's so many things about. So that's just one thing, like how it was made on set. And I think they filmed it in 2 weeks, right? With a pre-production of 2 months, right? And so it's like it's almost like everyone's fingers are dug in. It's not really just the director and the producer. It's like everyone's trying to unanimously achieve an idea. And I think that's something that film does more than theater, that does more than literature, that does more than painting, music, more than any of them. Film does that. Give me a second, burping. There's also the time. The film was an hour and a half, and I don't even know. I think a minute less or a minute more would have been way too much. the exact timing of the film is perfect, and the way that it unveils itself is like natural. It doesn't feel sped up. I actually felt like it was way longer. I remember when we watched the intro. We watched it when they started crediting, where Gaspar Noé's credits came up in the middle of the film. We paused it because I was so confused. I told him, I'm like, we paused it and it said 40 minutes or 40 something. And I'm like, are you serious? And we started laughing together. One, because it's kind of goofy, and two, because it's like, wow, I didn't realize we're 40 minutes in and the credits are just starting and we're halfway done. Like, it was just, the realization was insane. Um, so the time, the runtime was great. It's also attempting to reference to a true event in 1996 in which or in the 90s, in which a French dance troupe had a LSD or spiked or beverage spiked with LSD at an after party, but their like nothing crazy happened really with that real one. So he took the real life situation and made a fictional story of it. I like that for a couple of reasons. One, it's not getting a pre-existing story, and I mean a pre-existing fictional story. And what I mean by that is like Kubrick, like all of his films are based off books, even though he might have rewritten them to be more narrative or more cinematic. Uh, it's still for me it's still the same thing as actually using a book to make a movie. Something like this is almost like entirely based on film. Like, for example, you can write a documentary or autobiography. Jesus Christ, you can write a biography about someone, but to write a film a documentary about someone is entirely different and captures something that literature can't even get near. And so I think sort of getting that idea, sort of trying to capture something in a documentary style, but in fictional, it very seems, you could say, cinema verite-esque. I think, give me a second to take a drink. Sorry about that. I'm gonna try to keep it short. But just all the twists and turns, the lack of traditional cinema, traditional narrative, attempting to present attempting to present an idea, right? Having everyone so invested in it, the way they went upon producing the film, the length of the film, and the cinematography, like like all these little elements are so great about it. And then even the film itself and even the character arcs are great. And I think about having to compare this to Love, and just this is on an entire different level. Like, it's just nowhere near Love. And I don't know why people don't talk about this film more. I just think it's just a really good film. And I think the reason why I think that is because it has so many elements that I like. Yeah. And I could see a lot of other people having like these elements too. Obviously, it's not that esoteric about something, but it's like, it doesn't seem to me that people like these type of things. Like, for example, they're having sex just straight up on the floor. And it's like, I think someone would be like, oh, that's kind of stupid. But my thing is, like, these people are drugged up and they've already talked about how they're gonna fuck each other before. So it's like, it's kind of just, I liked it, even though it was kind of excessive. Especially in Love, but that's not the point. Um, I want to give it a 10 out of 10, but I'm scared of using that. This film is definitely without, it couldn't, for me, couldn't get near an 8 out of 10. And what I mean by that, it's a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. There's too many things that I like about it to give it anything less than a 9. Yeah, and and it talks about so many different things within it. And my thing is that he likes to keep things controversial. So anything that's gonna provoke a lot of questions or a lot of topics to talk about, he's gonna bring up, and you could see that all within the characters and the things that happen in the film. And he does it. He has another film. Let me look what it's called. Irreversible, and I'm pretty sure like the first half of the film has like this humming pitch played throughout it, and it made people literally nauseous, and they had to leave the film, and they like said this is the worst film ever. Just things like that. It's, you could say that's a little bit of pretentious, but you're attempting to make people think, and there's not that many films that do that. With that being said, this has been, we've talked about Gaspar's 2018 film Climax. The film's a 9 out of 10. There's no way to describe it other than a huge rise and a huge fall in a dance group, filmed with extremely long takes and a lot of dancing. And that's the entirety of the film. And as weird and obscure as that sounds, it's so good. It's really good, and it just takes that and does it on a whole nother level. But yeah, so we've talked about Climax. I'm trying to think anything else. Comment in the, just anything. I'm trying to hear more from you guys. I see that people are sort of reviewing my movies, my film reviews. I just really want to know what I could do better. I think I want to invest in a computer and start to kind of get things on track and start to have higher production, because it seems to me that people are starting to watch. But yeah, I will do higher production. I just want to hear from people. Yeah, with that being said, this has been Caleb Krebs. Go watch Climax. Don't watch Love, because you will not enjoy Love. Love is just, it's just an annoying movie, honestly. And I think I gave it a 6 out of 10, and in hindsight, I feel so dumb. Like, I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. Like, it's really not that good. But Climax, I'm telling you, you cannot give it less than an 8 out of 10. And if you don't, it's because either, I would assume that people wouldn't like this one because they're not big fans of sex, right? Because that kind of happens a lot. 2, the controversialness. Like, a literal mom kills her child, right? He electrocutes himself to death. Then, the lack of traditional narrative in cinema. I think those are some of the reasons why someone wouldn't like it. But if you're willing to forgo those things to look at something new, this is a great film to try. And I say this too all the time, that films that inspire directors or independent coming directors are films that I really enjoy, because it's like, yeah, Titanic is great, and I think a lot of people were inspired by to make films because of Titanic, but I can't make Titanic. I don't have the money to make Titanic, but I probably could get the money to make something like this, and I think that's why this film is really good. No, that's not the only reason, but that's part of the reason why I think it's very good. Yeah, with that being said, check out Climax by Gaspar Noé. Comment, like, subscribe, hit me up, do whatever. I'm doing these until the day I die. See you guys. Peace.